Hello, this is Crystal Fischetti. I'm doing a YouTube channel today using my complete intuition. I was a bit hesitant. I'm always hesitant actually doing videos. There is still a huge element of my human beingness that, is very connected with my ego. I'm a human being, and every person has an ego. I think this video is going to be a very different one compared to the ones that I have done before. It could be emotional. I could get emotional, and it could also be whatever it needs to be, essentially. So there have been a few videos that I've sent out, and a lot of the things I talk about are really out there for a lot of people, for a lot of you that are listening and watching in. There could be elements of preaching in there that could be perceived as preaching, and I just want to clarify and say right now that I am not here to preach, and I'm definitely not here to preach to the choir. If you know what I'm talking about, then please stand up and share your knowledge and your wisdom. And if you don't know, please try and not judge me for what I am giving to the world gratis, for free, so that I can enable you to have the strength and courage to go ahead and do the thing that you want to go ahead and do in your life. I'm only here to be a light for many, 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 many millions of people, and some of you may laugh at that, and I sense that, but I'm here on mission, and I will, in my lifetime and the lifetime after me, will affect a lot of people. And I know that a lot of you may find that quite difficult to imagine right now, but I have insight, and there is a beginning split in my being, my beingness, in the sense that I am called to live of purpose so much more than I have ever before. What does that mean? That means that I will be conducting rituals. I will be conducting rituals for young women, for all women, for men, vulnerable men, for people that need healing. And that will take place in the shape and form of plant medicine and of art and art therapy, and sharing each other's individual journey thus far, and healing those attributes that are dark and getting it out of the system, for sure. So that is happening, and as much as it is difficult for you to hear and understand that, because you may have known me in a way that is Crystal, your friend, your girlfriend, your buddy, your pal, your family member, wherever in the world. And then there's actually that side of me which is coming through so much more, which is spirituality. And I was going to say, it's not scaring me, it's actually invigorating me, but I do understand that there is going to be a bit of resistance. I like looking up, I do like to engage, and I think my laptop's just fallen asleep. I like to engage with the camera, tapping in and knowing that you are listening and watching. But I also like getting information from looking out the window and getting that light, those light codes, that information from above. And yeah, I mean, the journey that I'm on is not easy. It is not easy. It is one thing to, you know, go to yoga class and do meditation and chant Om like a billion times, and do, asanas and, burn incense and light candles and things like that. But there's also a huge aspect, which is the daily life yoga, which is the path that one takes going to the supermarket, going to the market, checking in on, the ego, the chatter that goes in my head in particular. And it is not easy, but I have chosen to listen. I have chosen to listen to my soul's calling and the calling of my ancestors. So if you don't know now, you'll know now. If you don't know now, you'll know now. So I come from two hugely long lineages. It's gone really quiet out here. Hugely long lineages from my mother's side and my father's side of shamans and priests. Along the line, about 200, 300 years ago, I have my father's side that have stopped using the gift, capital G, the gift being the spiritual way. And that has been because of persecution. I have learnt through another soul sister who is highly intuitive and is also a shaman. She helped me understand a little bit more about my lineage. I actually have documented, my family have been fantastic in having documented the whole path of lineages, at least 500 to 800 years back on both sides. So I do know myself. I do know my lineage very, 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 very well. It's documented and it's been recorded. So I'm very thankful to my ancestors for doing that. However, along the way, what was missed in this communication was that essentially I come from a very, very recently, my father's side, we are half Italian, I'm half Italian, he's Italian, they were Italian Jews. And when I think about that, I get angel bumps on my back, because it's something that I've always kind of known that I did feel like there was something related to that in my ancestry, in my bloodline. But knowing that was a possibility and a reality, there's so many things that come up for me about that. And what comes up is the fact that they had to hide their ritual, they had to hide their spirituality, they had to hide their ceremony, they had to hide their, practice, their spiritual practice, and they had to go underground in order to do that. So pretend to be Christian as a facade and then hide and, continue being Jews. And for a lot of you out there that look at me and look at my skin colour and my hair and how it's shaped and my eye shapes and my eyeballs and whatever preconception you may have on the physicality of my being, which is labelled as Cristal Fischetti, you may find that a little bit difficult. And neither do I want to demean your intelligence at all, because I know a lot of you out there are fairly aware that a lot of people are hugely intermingled and international, including yourself. And so this was a revelation for me. This is a recent revelation in the last week. What comes up for me is the sadness of not being able to not being able to practice a belief system, whether it was right or wrong, to a belief system, you know. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I come from two very disparate families, but two lineages that were light workers. And what a light worker is someone that holds the light, holds the lantern, holds the candle, and is the way. And in order to be the way for other people, he or she has to experience huge amounts of darkness, some very, very horrific experiences in the physical, and also very terrifying experiences in the metaphysical, and in the sort of subconscious dreamscape, if you want to call it, which is everything that you can think of, which I have personally experienced, and I am continuing to experience these things. And we only believe in bringing about a higher consciousness. We only believe in elevating other people. We only believe in goodness, you know. We only believe in caring for animals and nature. We only believe in empowering other people to go onto their path. We only believe in community and individuality in strength, but also with being able to be authentic within the community setting as well. And I am so hugely grateful that this lineage that I speak of, the last 300 years, which was very recent, had been doing that, but had to do underground, and it's very saddening, really, to think that was very, very recent. Just have some tea. I'm not here to pick a religion, pick a faith, and just see what resonates. And I know that that's really in right now, and I know that it's been something that has been a growing phenomena in the New Age community, to just, you know, pick and choose and see what resonates, and then don't do the work. And I'm really not here to do that. I'm here to be an example and a light, as I've mentioned, like my ancestors, to be that possibility for so many of you out there. On my mother's side, they were shamans, indigenous shamans, Incan. So Peru, Colombia, I have the Incan lineage. And that's very, very, very closely connected. My grandmother was indigenous, so pure native, and she practiced, and so did all of her side of the family as well. My mother practices, but in a way that it's not her, what's it called, business card. Let's say she's an interior designer and property developer. And my father has actually never identified as Christian. He identifies, if anything, as agnostic, but even so, he just doesn't. There was an experience when he was a kid that I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, when he was a kid in Sicily, and he had been, he had seen a couple of things that were out of order with the priests there, and I'm not saying that all Catholic churches have that. I'm just saying that my father had a couple of experiences that were really out of order, basically. And so he has chosen to be a naturist, essentially. He doesn't walk around naked, but shout out to those that do. So, but yeah, in all seriousness now, there's a few things I've put in my little special book, my star book, which I've recently picked up. So the last time I actually had properly written here was about 4 years ago. And I wrote something about my relationship with money, and I wrote a few paragraphs about that. And I'll just share a little bit with you, actually. Part of it I write is, well, actually, you know, when I found it a few weeks ago, I kind of got a bit emotional, actually, because this was I wrote this in August in 2015, 29th of August 2015, and then I set off for the States 2 months after I wrote this, and I actually had already petitioned for my O1 visa, which is really, really difficult to get. And there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of... My laptop keeps shutting down. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of showing that you value, sort of thing, and how you can give to the government, how you can give to the US as an alien of extraordinary talent in the arts. So I actually had no physical understanding that I hadn't had a confirmation that I was going to go out to the States. I've been waiting already 3 months, and it was really tricky. It was really, really difficult for me because, I don't know, I was just going through that current transformation. And I wrote about my relationship with money. 2 of the paragraphs are, 3 of them are, I feel that I am not good enough to earn the amount I should get paid. I tend not to believe that I am worth being paid a healthy sum, regardless if it is through my art. It is a vicious cycle between my self-rejection, assumption that I do not believe I am worthy of getting paid for my art and my art practice. Without art, I am nothing. Without money to fund my life, there is no art, and people miss out. So that's pretty profound. It's pretty profound. So once I actually had received my O1 visa and I was out there in the States, in LA in October, bearing in mind this wasn't the first time I went to LA. I was in LA a few months before, and I had then made a decision to, file for my visa. Once I'd arrived in LA, I had made more than I had written down on this page, which was $3,000. I had made so much more money than I thought possible. And I did that within a space of 3 years. And it wasn't just money that I made experiences. And I truly believe that a lot of what I wrote down here was actually releasing a lot of old negative patterning that I had created in my head about self-worth. I had put myself into a personal development training, which is transformational course called MITT, which has had its ups and downs. There are elements of it which is very culty, but the first 2 stages of it, I'm very grateful that I had experienced, because I had dealt with a lot of old patterns, as I mentioned, with myself, with how much I should charge for my work as an artist, my relationship with my parents, my relationship with the world in general, my purpose, what my purpose is, and what it is to be a woman, how I could work on being a positive leader and be authentic doing that. And a lot of people that have done this course, this training, a lot of them are very, very good friends of mine in Los Angeles that are making huge, huge heat waves in terms of their purpose. One of them is Mark Shapiro. I'm going to do a few shout outs. Mark Shapiro, he's doing incredible with his authenticity podcasts, How to Be Real. He's now on iTunes. He's been slogging away for the last 4 or 5 years at least. Then of course there's Carmina Becerra, who's Mexican, based in LA, Mexican American, and who's married now to Caduce. They are a power couple. They're doing so much good out there, and then so many others as well. So a lot of us in Venice Beach in LA, we're actually a very strong community that upholds other people, each other's purpose, and hold each other accountable as well, if we're acting out of ego. So ego in the sense of if we're acting out of a sense of fear and limitation. Excuse me. So I thought that was quite interesting. I found that. The other thing I wrote was a little poem extract from Rumi. If you don't know Rumi, please go and Google him. He is a wonderful poet. Just a very small extract I'm going to read. This universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you are already that. My laptop keeps shutting down. This universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you are already that. So please meditate on that, because it's a beautiful, beautiful teaching. What I have experienced has been my choosing. I have chosen, before coming into this physical life, to come and experience being human, being a woman, and what that means, the emotions, doing my hair, mascara, eating, all the pleasures of the world, and then also experiencing a lot of the pain. I don't know how I'm gonna bridge what I'm meant to be saying, essentially, with what I am saying at the moment. But let me just think. I'll just have some water. There's nothing wrong with working, but what if you started working with purpose, is what I wrote. So there's nothing wrong with working, but what if you started working with purpose? I have spent the last 4 or 5 years, having had a huge existential crisis, a massive psychological breakdown, on the wrong path, and I knew I was on the wrong path because I got really ill and mentally non-stable, and I knew that something was wrong, and I knew that it was a huge sign. I wasn't really into spirituality. All of this stuff I'm talking about right now, all the stuff I'm reading, I wasn't really on it, at all. So if I were to speak to my past self, as it were, now, I would say get out of that situation immediately, because it'll only cause suffering. It'll only cause you fear, anxiety, very limited relationship ideals, and relationship to myself as well. So I would say to you, if you are in a situation where you're in a relationship that doesn't give you what you deserve, and so that's the thing, is that in order to know what you deserve, you've got to be on your own for a little bit. You've got to experience what it's like to be with your name, with yourself. Say, for example, your name is Sarah or David. What is it like to be David? What is it like to be Sarah? How can you how can you know what you want if you don't know what you want? How can you know what you want if you don't know what you want? By having the space and time and peace and quiet to actually figure out what you want. I can't utter enough how short this life is. This life is so short. Please make it something that is actually going to be of benefit to you and so many other people. Please don't do something that you don't want to do in order to pay the mortgage or pay your rent. Maybe do it for a little while and then transition into the thing that you want to do. I keep reiterating this because I think it's really important that you know that it's primordial to your existence, and people out there need you. They need you. They need your skills. They need your light work. They need your. If you don't consider yourself a light worker, they need to hear your struggle in order to get where you need to get to. They need to hear your suffering. They need to feel connected. They need to be heard. And many of you might think, well, if I'm so woke, why don't I go and heal Africa and get food and water for them? Well, why don't you go and do that? I can't do everything. I really can't. I'm trying to do the best that I can, doing the best that I can in my lifetime. And believe me, I have gone through many experiences that I wish not for my enemies to have. Believe me. I do not want any of my enemies to have experienced the things that I have experienced. They have not been fun. Not just on an emotional level, but there are things that I continue to experience through people's ignorance, through people's lack of boundaries, through people's hurt. Through their hurt, they have hurt me. They think that was their way of communicating. And I still continue to forgive every single day. And I'm haunted by them quite often in my dreams, where they will appear. And that's another thing, in terms of relationships, relate to yourself, relate to your soul. Relate to yourself, relate to your soul. In order to have a relationship with another individual, please take time to have a relationship with yourself and with your soul, and listen to what it needs, because otherwise the inner child within suffers so much. It suffers because it's in a marriage that is broken already. It suffers because it sees the children that have been born in this relationship are suffering too. And what happens is a negative pattern that continues to cycle onwards unless you break it. There's a growing thing about weddings as well. We've got to have huge weddings, big weddings, money being spent, people to show off to. Just what's important. The importance is the love between that couple, the love and celebration of that couple, and that can be many people enjoying that experience, or that can be very few people that enjoy that experience. There's always an intention behind something. What's your intention behind your ideal wedding? What's your intention behind your ideal job? What's your intention behind your ideal relationship? What's your intention in your ideal friendship? In your friendship group? What's your intention? What's the collective intention? And that ends up creating a story, and that story then ends up becoming a truth, and that truth ends up becoming a DNA code that continues through into the next generation. So think about that. I pray that the stories that I share in this video and that I share in other videos activate something within yourself, activate something within your DNA, activate something within you to take action on what you want to do. That they activate you to go and be a painter, they activate you to run a mile every day, they activate you to do press-ups every day, any which way means you can if possible. I pray that my stories activate you to forgive those that have hurt you. I pray that my stories activate you to empower other people with your story, with your message of truth. I pray that you choose to cut the negative pattern within your family. I pray that you are the one that stops that. I pray that you create healthy boundaries around you within your relationships. I pray that you only allow positive energy, people into your home, into your sacred space. I pray that you do not get abused. I pray that you are not taken for granted. I pray that you speak up to that boss that treats you, that you choose even, that treats you treats you badly. I pray for you to give money to the local homeless person on the street. I pray that you offer a smile to the homeless person on the street. I pray that you protect children when you walk and they're just about to cross the road. I pray that you say something against paedophilia. I pray that you say something against women being assaulted by their husbands. I pray that you say something against women assaulting their husbands. I pray that you stand up for alcoholism as a growing necessity to hide pain, to hide because that child is suffering within and has not allowed himself or herself to come out and say, I need help. I pray that you help that person. I pray that you do not judge that person. I pray that you offer them help. I pray that you do not condescend to them. I pray that you see every single individual, regardless of creed, colour, nationality, class, where they live, leg, arm, no arm, hair, no hair, one eyeball, no eyeball, in the same way that you treat yourself. I pray that you say, I love you to the person that you love. I pray that you forgive every single individual that's hurt you. Your exes, the ones that you have let go because you are too fearful to love. I pray that you forgive them and you share that love and send that love and light to them. I pray that you are strong. I pray that you continue with me on this journey that is the shamanic journey. Amen. That was a powerful message, and 33 minutes. 33 is Christ consciousness energy, which is about mastery and teaching. There's a lot that you can find out about that. Again, Google is your friend with that. As I mentioned before, I will be coming more into my shamanic practice. I have some new slots coming up where I'm teaching art therapy in my studio in Soho. And I also will be teaching life modelling as well. So I'm going to be getting some professional life models, and I'm going to be teaching you some wonderful fun life drawing classes. Again, all of my workshops are not about being a perfect painter and a perfect draftsman and draftswoman. It's more about having fun, experiencing different people, experiencing something outside of the norm, and just using the other side of your brain, basically. And that's always fun. And my classes are also very affordable. More information on that will come through in my newsletter next month, and also you can follow me on Instagram as well. I think that's all I have to say right now. Just one last thing. To all of the people that have crossed my path, I continue to change. To all of the people that have crossed my path and I have loved and have loved me, I continue to love. To all of the people that have hurt me and that I have hurt, I continue to forgive and heal. Love and light to you all. Please continue to live a life with abstract medicine in your hearts, your heads, your purpose, your practice, your soul. Have a beautiful day.